And I'm going to let Chris introduce us and welcome everybody in.
Good evening. My name is Christopher Gagney from Mass DOT's Major Project Section, and I am the project manager for this project. Thank you for joining us to learn more about the Charlton Oxford Route 20 Reconstruction Project. This evening's meeting is to update you on the project status and to discuss the construction plans for 2024. We will have a presentation that will last about 30 minutes. Then we'll provide you with an opportunity to ask questions or provide comments. Now I'd like to introduce our producers, Joe Yu and Hung Pham, we just heard from, who will go over the basics of how this live virtual public information meeting will be conducted.
Thank you, Chris. Once again, my name is Hung, and I am one of the Mass DOT's producers this evening, providing that technical support and facilitating questions alongside Joe Yu. Let me take a moment to go over some of the Zoom's basic. If you need to call in, I see that someone did call in already. Please use the number you see on the screen here, just in case you have some audio issues. The number is 646-931-3860, and please use the webinar ID 814-1235-9433. And if you're having Zoom technical issues, you can reach Zoom Tech by the 888 number you see in the top right screen, which is 1-888-799-9666. On the bottom left, you will find your audio control. Chat function is disabled for this meeting. Please direct your written questions to the Q&A box. You can type questions at any time, and we will answer them at the end of the presentation, while participants can ask questions verbally as well. You have entered the meeting muted and have no access to your webcam. You can unmute yourself during the Q&A portion of the meeting by raising your hand. Please note that while Zoom does provide automatic closed captions, they may not be entirely accurate. As you have guessed it, or know by now, that this meeting is being recorded. All parts of public meetings are public records, so Mass DOT can retain and distribute all parts of the meeting. If you type questions or ask one verbally, know that you will be part of the record. So please use both functions for project-related business only. If you're not comfortable being included in these types of records, you can choose to just listen in for today or excuse yourself from the meeting entirely. Again, we have the Q&A session at the end of the presentation. All questions and comments are welcome. However, please refrain from any disrespectful comments. Lastly, a survey will pop up at the end of the hearing. Please take the time to answer it. Your feedback is extremely important to us. On the screen here is Mass DOT's diversity and civil rights policies. If you want to learn more about it, please visit the website www.mass.gov/non-discrimination-in-transportation-program, or reach out to the Office of Diversity and Civil Rights. Once again, all comments and questions are welcome and appreciated. However, please be respectful. And with that, I'm going to pass it over to Chris. Chris?
Oop, my apologies.
No
Thank
worries.
you, Hung. Thank you. This meeting has been advertised in the Worcester Telegram and Gazette, the Charlton Villager, on Mass DOT's Facebook and Twitter accounts, through the towns of Charlton and Oxford. That's where the Twitter accounts come from, and Facebook. We'd like to thank our community partners for helping promote the event, including the Central Massachusetts Regional Planning Commission, North and Central Chamber of Commerce, Southbridge and Worcester RMV Service Branch, Center for Living and Working, Oxford Conservation Commission, Side by Side Charitable Organization, Four Winds Equestrian Center, and Charlton's Americans with Disability Act Commission. This meeting's presentation will begin with an introduction of the project team. Then I will provide an overview of the project and ask our contractor to discuss the construction and staging plans for this year and current work activities. At the end of the presentation, we will outline the next steps and how we will keep you informed about the project moving forward. Once the presentation is complete, you will conclude this evening's meeting with a period for questions and discussion. The team for this project consists of staff from the Mass DOT Highway Division and the Design Build Construction team. Again, my name is Christopher Gagne from Mass DOT's Major Project Section, and I'm the main project manager for this project. Joe Frawley is the operations engineer from the District 3 office, which is responsible for overseeing the construction of this project. The resident engineer from our district construction section is Claudian Polisi. The design team consists of a team with both a contractor who is responsible for constructing the project and a design engineer who is responsible for finalizing the design. Peter Pavo, the project manager from D.W. White, will speak later about the construction staging and activities. Amanda Poppenberg from Regina Villa Associates will discuss how we keep you informed about the project. We have Lenny Velichansky, the design manager from Trans Systems, and Jonathan Nero from Beta Group, available to answer any questions that come up regarding the design or environmental permitting process. How did we get here? Some of you may have joined us when the Mass DOT team met with the public in May of 2021 for the 25% design public hearing and/or the previous public information meetings last year in February and May of 2023. Since this project was advertised as a design build project, the steps since the public hearing were different than for many Mass DOT projects. The project was advertised for design build in April of 2022, and teams that combine contractors and designers submitted proposals and bids. Once the project received a notice to proceed in November of 2022, the selected team of D.W. White and Trans Systems was able to prepare to begin early construction activities while refining and finalizing the design. We are meeting tonight to update you on construction activities and staging for this year. There we go. The project will be reconstructing Route 20 between the intersection of Richardson's Corner Road in Charlton and the intersection with Route 12 in Oxford. To improve safety, a center median will be installed throughout the length of this corridor. To improve multimodal mobility, pedestrian and bicycle accommodations will also be improved. The existing signalized intersections at Richardson's Corner Road, Route 56, and Route 12 will also be upgraded. Additional work in this project includes replacing the Route 20 bridges over the Little River and the French River, optimizing drainage, and introducing best management practices for stormwater treatment. If you'd like to learn more about the design team, if you'd like to learn more about the project design, you can view recordings and materials from our previous public meetings on our website. I will now turn the meeting over to Peter Pavo, the project manager for the design build team, to discuss construction plans for this year.
Hello. Good evening. Construction overview. The original time frame for this project was approximately 4 years. The previous anticipated date was November of 2026. With some early achievements and planned lane closures, which I will explain in a moment, we now anticipate completion in fall 2025. With D.W. White typically performs most of their work during the daytime hours. Typical work hours are from 7 a.m. to 3:30 p.m. Some work may vary depending on traffic volumes between 5 a.m. and 7 p.m. There will be occasional night work and weekend work for some demolition and off-peak work. that need lane taking to execute the work. We will always maintain access for emergency services. We will be in contact with all first responders to maintain communication throughout the contract. Here are some ways we will mitigate construction impacts. Include confining all major operations to fixed work zones, minimizing construction vehicle turning movements within the project limits to reduce congestion, reducing travel speeds throughout the work zones for the safety of the workforce and the traveling public, and using water spray for dust suppression throughout the project. Next slide, please. We recently achieved 2 major milestones. First, the utility pole relocation had an original baseline schedule of 3 years. But we were able to complete it in a year, eliminating a phase. This will enable us to accelerate the completion of this project. We also replaced 3 culverts across Route 20 late last year. We appreciate everyone's patience while we had to detour traffic to complete the work. These major milestone achievements allowed us to revise our accelerated schedule. Next slide. Temporary lane closures. Starting in March 4th through November of this year, we will reduce Route 20 to 1 lane in each direction between Richardson Corner Road and Route 12. Please note, this is a change to what we previously presented. We will maintain access to local businesses and existing turn lanes with U-turns at Route 12, Route 56, and Richardson Corner. Side streets and driveways along Route 20 will be restricted to right turn only. To accommodate traffic that wishes to change directions, U-turns will be allowed at Richardson Corner, Route 56, and Route 12. Additional lanes may reopen as sections of work are completed. And at the end of the construction season, we will return the road to 4 lanes throughout the corridor. Next slide, please. Temporary lane closures. While we understand that there are traffic impacts as a result of 1 lane in each direction, but there are benefits. The traffic setup will allow us to complete the project 10 months earlier than originally planned. That means the project will be substantially complete in 2025, with only finish work and cleanup work remaining, bearing any weather and unexpected delays. A barrier will provide safety benefits for the worker and the traveling public, as the corridor is rather narrow and the reduced speed limits that are posted are not always followed. Next slide, please. Stage 1 configuration. This shows the lane setup that will look like stage 1 from March through July of 2024. Construction of the westbound side of the roadway will take place, while traffic is permitted on the eastbound side of the roadway. Next slide, please. Stage 2 configuration. This shows what lane setup will look like in stage 2. From July through November of 2024, construction will be moved to the eastbound side of the roadway, while traffic is permitted on the westbound side of the roadway. Wide loads permitted from work zones. MassDOT will continue to implement restrictions that prohibits vehicles from carrying wide loads over 8 foot 6 inches on Route 20 between Route 12 and Richardson Corner. The restrictions will remain in place 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, throughout the duration of the lane closures. We will continue to coordinate with businesses inside the project limits on their wide loads. Any vehicles carrying wide loads should avoid the work zone, seek alternate routes, and contact MassDOT's Commercial Truck Permits Office for more information. Current work activities. Next, I will provide you an overview of current work activities. The next slide, DW White is currently working on utilities, roadway widening, and retaining walls. This work will continue through 2024 and is estimated to be completed in November. Work hours are consistent with the overall project work hours and lane closures I presented earlier. And now I will hand it over to Chris Gagny to discuss next steps.
Thank you, Peter. After tonight's meeting, the next steps of the project are to begin the lane closures on March 4th. Construction activities will continue through November this year, and the lanes will reopen in December. We will continue to provide the public additional information as construction moves forward. We anticipate that the construction will be substantially complete in November of 2025. Next slide. Now I will hand it off to Amanda Poppenberg from Regina Villa Associates to discuss how we will keep you informed.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Amanda Pogenberg with Regina Villa Associates, and I'm working with the team on public outreach and communications for this project. The public outreach team is assisting MassDOT by implementing a timely and informative outreach program. We want to make sure you and other stakeholders are aware of the project and receive timely updates to help you plan your participation and choose how to follow the project. We maintain a robust email database, including key contacts from regional and local organizations, municipalities, and elected officials. Those contacts, and anyone else who chooses to sign up for our emails, will receive email updates on a regular basis before key project milestones and in advance of construction activities and traffic impacts, such as the upcoming construction phasing shifts. We will also continue to keep the project website updated with project information and announcements. For the latest project information, we encourage you to visit our project website, noted on the slide here, with the URL and QR code. You can also write to us with questions or comments at dot.feedbackdistrict3@dot.state.ma.us. If you have urgent construction-related issues, you can call our project hotline at 508-990-5012. Finally, you can find MassDOT information on social media. And then I'd like to turn it back to Joe to discuss the format of the question and answer session.
Thank you, Amanda. Before we get to questions from the general public, we'd like to ask that if there's any elected public officials, both from a federal or state level, or even the local level, that they raise their hand, provide their title in the Q&A chat so we can address you properly, and then we allow you to say a few words if you'd like. So it seems like we have a couple names already. We have okay. Sorry, I was just informed that the representatives would not like to speak, but thank you for raising your hands and thank you for letting us know that you're present. Okay, moving on. Sorry about that, folks. Moving on, we have two main ways that you can interact with the panelists tonight. The first way is the raised hand function. You can click the raised hand icon on the bottom of your screen. That'll allow you to be put in the queue in the panelist in the participant list. We'll then ask you to unmute yourself when it is your turn to speak. You can additionally write out your questions or your comments using the Q&A box. We'll also read those questions out verbatim, and the panelists will have an opportunity to answer your questions or respond to your comments. Please note that since we have quite a few attendees in tonight's hearing, we'd like you to please share only one question or comment at a time, limited to 2 minutes to allow others to participate. Please also note that there is a survey at the end of this hearing. So when you exit, a window will pop up with the survey. Please take a few minutes to complete the survey. And please let us know how the meeting was with this virtual hearing. All questions and comments are subject to disclosure for public records, so please use these functions for project-related business only. All right. Doesn't seem like we have too many folks. Oh, here we go. Trickling in some questions. All right, we have a question from Francis. Francis asks, what is the estimated timeline for the French River Bridge work?
Thanks, Joe. I believe that's a good question for the contractor. Peter, can you answer the question of what's the duration for the French River Bridge construction?
Yes, Chris. Hi, Peter Pavo. We have the schedule for the end of this year. That's accelerated schedule based on what we provided for timelines. So the end of this year into the beginning of the 25, but end of this year, all lanes open.
Thank you.
Thank you, Peter.
We have a question from Curtis. Curtis asks, what was the backfill used for behind the retaining walls, and why was it used?
Thank you, Joe. Again, Chris Gagne, Mass DOT. I believe what you're referring to is the lightweight fill that was used behind the retaining walls. This was used to reduce the loading on those walls because of the soil conditions. Peter, or could you add more information than that, or do I have that correct?
No, you have that correct. Yeah, right on. That's lightweight fill. That's how it is transported in the bags for easy installation. It's cut out at the point of the wall where we want it to, and we're intended to go, and that's the process. But you explained what the product is.
Thank you.
While we wait for additional questions, I would like to recognize that Representative Paul Frost and Representative Joseph McKenna are here and listening to your feedback alongside with the staff from Senator Chapman's office. So thank you to the representatives for showing up tonight for this hearing. I'll pass it off to Hung for taking over the Q&A from here. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe. So I'm going to continue with the Q&A here. I am not really good at pronouncing names here, so Yuvian, I'm sorry about that, but the person asked, how are you going to mitigate summer traffic, especially on weekends and when there are backups on the pike?
Again, Chris Gagne, Mass DOT. Thank you for your question. We did do a test of the one lane in each direction between Route 12 and Route 56 last July, and that went about as smoothly as you could imagine. Obviously, we can't take into account every consideration or traffic backup that happens, but if there are recurring issues with traffic, we'll take measures to alleviate those. But right now, we're still going forward with the one lane in each direction for the entire corridor for the 2024 construction season.
Great, thank you. And then someone anonymous asked why a rotary at Oxbow Road rather than a traffic light.
Sure. Thank you for the question. Again, Chris Gagne, Mass DOT. In the early stages of the design for this project, there was actually a traffic light, a traffic signal proposed for that intersection. The problem was it didn't meet the state warrants to have an actual light there. So instead of just continue with left turn lanes or closing off Oxbow Road altogether, it was decided to install a roundabout. And the design builder has completed the design of that, and we'll begin installing that this construction season. And Peter, do you have a timeline for when that roundabout will be completed?
That's a part of the phase construction. So we'll be construction parts of it in the early part of the first phase 1B, and then which will up until July. Then when we switch over, we'll be construction the other side. And then finishing off in the 2025 season, when the rotary will probably it will be in function.
Thank you, Peter. So the rotor will be, it sounds like the rotor will be installed in 2 halves from when the contractor switches back and forth their lane configurations. But it will remain open through this construction season, and you'll see it as it's constructed.
Thank you. I saw a hand raised earlier and then went down. Oh, there we go. Hi, Gary. You can unmute yourself now.
Unmute.
Hello.
Hi, so I'm actually, I was just, it's not Gary, it's Jamie. Hi.
Hi. Can
So I
you
was-
say your name just for the record again?
It's Jamie Blash.
Hi.
Hi. So I was actually, you just answered my question, what the state warrants for stoplights. Is there a certain amount of distance between, instead of doing a rotary, how much space you need between lights, and I mean, what that distance actually is? Or I was just wondering how, where you are going to put them.
Thank you for the question again, Chris Gagne, Mass DOT. We're upgrading the traffic signals as they exist at Richardson's Corner, Route 56 and Route 12. As I said previously, there was in the early stages of the project a new traffic signal set up at the eastern intersection of Oxbow Road at Route 20. But again, that didn't meet warrants. The amount of data and logistics that go into what satisfies an intersection to have traffic signals, there's a number of factors, including sight distance, distance from other traffic signals, traffic, amount of traffic, that sort of thing. And in this case, it just didn't meet for what's going on at that section of Oxbow Road. But it was decided to put the roundabout in, so there would still be opportunities for turning around and making left turns from Oxbow onto 20 and vice versa.
Right. So when I was here the other day, I pulled out of Gary Jackson's, and I literally could not get out of, and then you have to cross over 3 lanes. So and then I realized that this was a bus route as well, going down to Bay Path Road. And I was like, and so obviously I live on the farm on the other side of the land, and you can hear how fast the traffic is, right? So being on the farm for 44 years, it just is, Route 20 is just, it's too fast. So somehow we have to slow all of it down. And obviously there's been safety issues and traffic issues. And so somehow the only way to slow it down is to put lights and, either blinking lights, so I just didn't know what the distance is between that and how it's going to go, but somehow it has to slow down. And then my other question, if I can have one more question, is
there are a lot more people, so if I can get back to you.
Okay.
Awesome, thank you. And so I'm going to switch over to the Q&A box now, just to get people questions and comments answered and addressed. I'm so sorry about that. So Joseph Zella said that D.W. White is in the process of pipeline work in front of my office, which is at 426 Worcester Road, which has 2 entrances, approximately 300 feet apart. The landscaping was removed from his property, and the entrances are now very hard to differentiate from the rest of the property, which is causing confusion for clients, and entering, it was very wet, muddy. So is there any way to obtain enter here type signage for the driveway until construction is completed?
Thank you, Joe. I would suggest reaching out directly to D.W. White while they're on site, either through the best way would be through the website with that specific question, to coordinate with the contractor directly. What I would suggest would be the best way to get something done there. Peter, did you have anything additional to add?
Yeah, I took note of the address and the question there. So we'll revisit that tomorrow. Definitely 426 Worcester Road. We have the address, and it'll be we'll pay a visit there tomorrow.
All right, terrific. Thanks, Peter. Expect a visit from the contractor.
Thank you. Moving on to Jeff, who says or asks, will we have enough room to access or exit our business at Helgerson's with large trucks during lane closures with barriers?
Again, thank you for the question. Chris Gagne, Mass DOT. The majority of the lane closures won't have concrete barriers. It'll likely be the orange barrels. There are locations, particularly where the contractor will be working, where they'll have concrete barriers. But I believe the contractor will make every opportunity to make sure that the businesses can enter and exit their properties with the vehicles that are necessary. Again, Peter, did you have anything to add to that?
No, we spoke with Jeff before when we know the address and the property, so we'll also stop by there tomorrow and address any concerns you may have. But we'll always make that accessible, obviously.
Thank you.
Great. There are 3 more Q&A questions. I just want to bring this slide up just in case people have additional questions or comments after this meeting. You can always visit the website as well as send an email for your feedback. And continuing on, Susan asks, so starting March 4th, we can only take a right turn coming out of our house or homes, and then must do a U-turn at the next light to turn around. Is that correct, or this will take place until November? Give or take.
Yes, thank you for the question again, Chris Gagne, Mass DOT. Susan, that's correct. The only places that will allow a left turn or turnaround during this construction season will be at Richardson's Corner, Route 56 or Route 12. And that left turn restriction will be the final product once the project is complete. Once the project is complete, there'll be a solid barrier separating the eastbound and westbound lanes, preventing any left turns except for those intersections, Richardson's Corner, Route 56, Route 12, with the additional completion of the roundabout at the eastern intersection with Oxbow Road. But just to add on to that, I believe during the winter when the road is reopened both directions, there may be opportunity to take left turn then, but again, once the project's complete, there'll be barrier. Or Peter, am I out of line there?
No, Chris, that's concurrent with the end of the season. There'll be we might have some opportunity for some barrier in, but yes, it'll be right turn only at the end of the project design.
Yeah, it seems that Harold has some question along that same framework in terms of the ability to do left turn or right turn or doing U-turn. And his question is, will left hand turns onto Route 20 be prohibited throughout the duration of construction season?
And again, yes, Harold, same answer I just gave to Susan.
Mm-hmm.
There will be only those intersections I mentioned during the construction season where you'll be able to turn left or make a U-turn. And again, at each of those intersections, Richardson's Corner, Route 12, and Route 56 during this construction season, there will be 2 lanes of traffic each way, including turn lanes. So that's the corridor isn't just one barrel from Route 12 to Richardson's Corner. At those intersections, it does open up, even during this construction season.
Cool, thanks. Yvonne. Okay, thank you for helping me pronounce that. So Yvonne asked, or asking or stating, so after the project is completed, what will happen with the dirt mountains, or is the rock quarry on Route 20 and 12? it is surprisingly large area. Now that the trees are gone, that area can use more dust reduction.
Thank you, Yvonne. Again, Chris Gagny, Mass DOT. This could be two issues. Any stockpiles that the design builder has and is using for spreading gravel or loam or what have you throughout the duration of the construction until they're complete. Once construction is complete, the contractor stockpiles will be removed. I believe what you may be referring to is a private property owner who does have some earthwork operations going on outside of the right of way of Route 20. I do believe they have environmental permitting through. I'm not. I can't speak to where it's. I think it's with DEP and/or through the district, but I believe that would be a separate issue than this project.
Chris, do you mind if I jump in for just a second on that?
Absolutely.
Good evening. My name is Joe Frawley. I'm the operations engineer for District 3. And one of the things the district would handle is permitting for the private development parcel that Chris just mentioned. So certainly what I would suggest is if there are some specific concerns, please let us know through the email address that's in the presentation, and the district would be happy to work with the applicant of that private development parcel to try to address some of the concerns that may be existing with their dirt piles that exist in that general area. And thank you very much for the question.
Great. Thank you. Moving on, Robert asked Peter, we have an existing stone retaining wall at 159 South Bridge Road in North Oxford. Will that field stone wall be rebuilt? And will a alternate retaining wall be replacing that?
Sure, thanks, Robert. Tomorrow we'll put that on the list to also visit that property and the owner and review his wall and go over the project design limits.
And someone asked about speed limit once the project is completed.
Thank you. Again, Chris Gagny, Mass DOT. The speed limit will return to the same as it was prior to the project. The difference being the road will be reconfigured, so the traveling public should find a safer path here.
Thank you. Harold asked, will there be advanced signage indicating the left hand turn restriction on side roads approaching Route 20?
I was going to ask Peter, could you address that one?
Absolutely. We have brand new signs to go in place. It'll be very clear and visible to all the abutters, residents there, and businesses. That left hand, to remind a right turn only, no left turns.
Thank you, Peter.
Thank you. Brian Lucier asked, there's a quite amount of emergency traffic on Route 20. So what is the plan for emergency bypass with only 2-lane flow pattern?
Thank you, Brian. Again, Chris Gagny, Mass DOT. There will be opportunities for emergency vehicles to travel through the areas that have been cordoned off, but not necessarily an active work zone. The contractor and the district are working closely with the emergency services and with the towns of Charlton and Oxford to make sure that we can get emergency vehicles to any issues on Route 20 or through Route 20 to get to somewhere else. Peter, would you like to add anything to what I've done there?
No, we'll work closely with the emergency, with the towns, with emergency services, and update them, and with our schedules and work, and go and always, as you said, the inactive cordon off areas will be a route for them to to get into and get through traffic. But we'll work with them closely to keep them on top of our work area and work zones, the real active zones.
And Chris, I'll just add in for a second again, Joe Frawley from District 3, that the existing signals do have emergency preemption devices that help emergency vehicles get through the intersections, and we'll be working with the design build team to make upgrades as needed to make sure that those signals continue to detect emergency vehicles as they're coming through. So if there is any additional congestion along the corridor, they'll be able to trip the lights to be able to get the emergency vehicles through during construction as well. Thank you very much.
Thank you. There are a couple questions regarding the rotary and basically early signage and what have you. So one of the questions talk about warning signs and lights for drivers to see the approaching of the rotary, as well as the speed limit and reduction through the new roundabout rotary.
Yes, again, Chris Gagne, Mass DOT. There will be quite a bit of signage advising drivers that there is a rotary ahead, and the sight lines will be constructed in such a way that you'll see it. It'll be highly visible during the day and at night with signage, and the speed limit through the rotary, if I remember correctly, is 25 miles per hour. And there'll be additional signage to alert drivers that of the reduced speed, and that'll be necessary due to the configuration. You can't just fly straight through it. So drivers will be forced to lower their speed as they approach the roundabout.
Thanks, Chris. We have one more question from Yvonne. Could there be more speed limit enforcement through the construction zone? I'd like to see certain people get a well-deserved fine. Thank you, Yvonne, for the Levitas comment. I don't think, the DOT is not an enforcement agency, but Chris, would you like to tackle that question?
Sure. Thanks again, Yvonne. The district and the design builder have been working closely with the town of Oxford and town of Charlton police departments, as well as state police, and they have had additional units on the roadway as traffic enforcement during construction over the past year. And they have fined a number of drivers for exceeding the posted construction speed limit, which is 10 miles an hour below what was previously posted as before the project started. So yes, I hope I answered your question. We have coordinated to have additional traffic enforcement, but obviously we can't be everywhere, or they can't be everywhere all the time. But we have been coordinating with them to work on that.
Thanks, Chris. Question from Douglas. Will there be any new overhead lighting or street signs as part of the final upgrades to this section of Route 20?
Again, Chris Gagne, thank you for the question, Mass DOT. There is updated lighting at the intersections, as well as new lighting at the roundabout at the eastern intersection with Oxbow Road. But as far as corridor lighting, no. What's there will remain in place, and it'll get a new fixture, but it won't. There isn't any overall lighting for the sections between intersections.
Chris,
Lenny, did you want to
jump in? Yes, Lenny Vilachansky, design manager from Trend Systems. In addition to what Chris just mentioned, all the existing lights in Charlton will be replaced with LED lights, LED fixtures. So the overall lighting will look brighter.
Thank you. We have a comment from an anonymous attendee. letting us know that, are you aware that the traffic lights at Route 56 are not functioning properly with no cars queued for left turns on Route 20? They get a green signal and no traffic on Route 56. The Route 20 has a red. So thank you for that. We'll make note of that if that actually is the case. Appreciate it. Gary has a comment. If there isn't a light put up at Glenmere and Route 20, there will be more accidents like this. And linking a news article from Telegram. So I appreciate the comment. We'll definitely take a look at that link. Question from Gary: are you sure we can't talk to the federal government to make an exception to make a light, to get a light to go to slow down traffic and make Charlton safer?
Again, Chris Gagne, Mass DOT. I'm not quite sure if you're talking about Glenmere here, but the design for this project has been completed. What we're talking about tonight is the staging of construction and how it's going to be constructed. Any future construction would need to be part of a future project.
And Chris, I'll just add on for just a moment and just kind of reference back to one of the previous questions. Certainly one of the reasons why the roundabout was selected at the Oxbow Road intersection is because we were very aware of the concerns on the corridor about speed. And one of the benefits of the roundabout versus a traffic signal at the Oxbow Road intersection is it would help slow speeds along the corridor. And certainly as MassDOT was working on the preliminary design that is now been advanced, we were focused on trying to make sure that we implemented measures to try to address speed on the corridor. And so, well, as Chris said, we certainly have looked very carefully at where to provide control along the corridor, and the intersection at Glenmere and Bay Path will be right in, right out. We were very focused, and that was one of the reasons why the roundabout ended up getting selected as part of the meetings that we had last year about the design refinement instead of the traffic signal at Oxbow Road. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joan. Thanks, Chris. Appreciate that. Thank you, Gary, for your question. Question from Mark, asking how bright the new lighting will be. Will the neighbors be overwhelmed with the bright light at night?
Again, Chris Gagne, Mass DOT. Mark, thanks for the question. The lighting is all selected so that shines primarily on the roadway and not behind it into abutting properties. So you'll see the roadway lit up where there are either replaced existing lights or new lights at the intersections. But there shouldn't be any undue spillage onto abutting private properties private properties.
Right. Thank you, Chris. Comment from from an anonymous attendee. Will the new turn around area be reopened? Now they are closed with barrels blocking them.
I assume they're talking about the intersections 1256 and Richardson's Corner. Yes, when the single lane configuration is put into effect, those turnaround areas will be opened up for the purpose of allowing traffic to make the U-turn, since they won't be able to turn left at any point on the rest of the corridor.
Thanks. And then we have a follow-up comment from Gary saying that the section of roadway that we were talking about will turn into a race from the roundabout to Richardson Corner. There's still time to make things right in this project. The right turn is what causes accidents. So thank you for that, Gary. I'll take that into consideration. But like I said, this meeting is to discuss the construction. So thank you. We just transitioned the slide over to how you, the public, can stay connected with the Mass DOT project team after tonight's meeting. Please note that there is a project website shown on the screen It's the first link. If you type that in, you can look at all the meeting material that we have tonight, as well as additional information on the project and how it's been progressing throughout the years. So please visit that when you have the chance. You can also scan the QR code on the right-hand side of your screen to be directed to the website. If you have any follow-up questions after tonight's meeting, you can send your email to dot.feedbackdistrict3@dot.state.ma.us. So please, if you have any questions, feel free to email or comments, feel free to email the address shown on the screen. If you have any hotline questions for the hotline for any urgent or construction related issues, please call the number 508-990-5012. And you can also be updated via Facebook and Twitter at mass.info or at massdot. That's the Twitter handle. We have a question from, oh, no, just a comment from Yvonne. Appreciate the meetings. Thanks. Appreciate your participation tonight, Yvonne. And with that, Chris, we don't have any further questions in the Q&A box or any raised hands. I'll leave it up to you on however long you want to wait for additional comments. Seems like we have reduced in number of attendees as well. So like I said, I'll leave that decision on how long you want to keep this hearing going for. Thank you.
Sure. Yeah, no, that was a good, robust Q&A. We appreciate that. We appreciate the feedback, as always. As Joe said, it looks like we don't have any additional comments or people who wish to speak. So at this time, I'd like to thank you for joining us this evening, and have a good night.